Hi. Well, it's great. And you?
I'm good. Just getting ready to embark on some Monsters of Rock cruise.
Ah, okay. So you're going on the cruise, the one from that starts in Miami or somewhere
Yeah,
around there.
end of the
Ah,
week. I call it the boat gig.
the boat. That's
I've done one
amazing.
before. I've done one before, and it was before the sea thing, and then I was offered another one, and I go, man, I'm not gonna get all shot up for this, but so this one's all good. So I decided time for a vacation.
Yeah, well, there are some Swedish bands on that cruise, I think, as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, well, it's yeah, I could join definitely.
Uh-huh, right.
That would be amazing. But let me just start with saying it's a huge honor to meet you. Thanks for taking time. I mean, for the listeners of Pirate Rock and the viewers of Tell Us Rock, I mean, we're talking songs like "Round and Round," "You're in Love," "Lay It Down," everything. These are songs that we play pretty much every day on the radio. So
Thank you.
amazing, amazing.
Yeah. I'm still liking singing, so and until I still like it, I'll still do it.
Yeah, well, and now you're releasing this box, this the Atlantic Years, five
Yeah,
albums, the first five albums. Oh my
correct.
God,
Yeah,
that's. I mean,
this thing is very cool. Not to interrupt it, it's very cool because it's ironically the 40th year anniversary of the band of Rat and Roll. So it's pretty cool.
yeah. And we're talking Dancing Undercover, Detonator, Invasion and Privacy, Out of the Cellar and Reach for the Sky, starting from 84 until 1990.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, this thing,
It,
I'll tell you what, and it's got we have a vinyl single of Nobody Rides for Free in there, which is kind of
okay.
cool. And it doesn't stop there. I mean, God, I think you get a poster, sticker, pick, passes, booklet, tour book. We threw in the whole ball of wax, on this one. Well,
Well, that's great.
it's actually our real first, box set, let alone on vinyl. I mean, we've done, the greatest hits and the albums together remixed or whatever, but this is pretty much our first.
And I mean, this is, if we look at it, I mean, I grew up with Ratt. So for me, this is music history. You're releasing music history in a box.
Correct. And it's a good
And
one.
yeah, it's a very good one. It's been released on June 2nd, if I'm correctly informed.
Yeah, I think it's the 9th, but who cares? It's coming out.
It's coming out very soon, definitely. I mean, thinking back on these albums, we're talking beginning of the 80s. As you said, it's the 40th anniversary. I mean, releasing these albums, that must have changed your life completely, right?
Yeah, every one of those records, coincides with the tour and that whole 80s experience. And when I look back on it, as I do my concerts now as a solo artist,
Yeah.
there's no chance of getting the band back together, at least not with Rob. It ain't gonna happen now. But I can see it in these our audience is still there. I mean, it's
Yeah.
bigger than ever. I mean, and then to see all these rugrats at our shows, all these younger kids in the 20s, I mean, it's just a whole new world for them, like, God, you guys did this. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, we didn't know what we were creating or what we were really a part of, but it's lo and behold a big part of music culture, the 80s. When you even the term hair metal doesn't fucking bother me, because it just means that when that word is said, automatically you're thinking Motley, Rat, Def Leppard.
Yeah.
You're in this category of history of music.
Yeah.
So it's
Well, that's how it is. I mean, it's for me, it's only positive hair metal. I mean, this is a genre of music that is fucking amazing, to be honest.
yeah. And I
I
think
mean,
and I think the younger people are, when I say young, I don't mean like teens or whatever, but there are teens. but
Yeah.
that are discovering how cool that actually was. That whole genre, the whole scene, the music in general. I mean, call it what you may, but it really hit hard with a lot of people back then, and it still does now because they're coming out in droves.
Yeah, well, trust me. When I wrote on social media that I was gonna make an interview with you tonight, it got crazy. I got a lot of people, a lot of listeners and fans were like, "Okay, so holy shit, you have to ask him this and that and everything." So we're gonna end
Bring it
this with a
on.
couple of yeah, definitely.
Bring it on. That's what I'm here to tell the rat tales, my friend.
Yeah, it's amazing. But I mean, looking back to the 80s, I mean, what's the thing about the music from the 80s? Why is it so special? I mean, will we ever get a decade like this again when it comes to rock music? What do you think?
Well, I actually think you're getting it right now, ironically, for us 40 years later. It was just new. It was refreshing. It was exciting, dangerous, colorful. It was Halloween and Christmas every day. I mean, you go to the strip and it would be like a zoo,
Yeah,
like the 60s had its moment at the Whiskey with the Doors and whoever else. The same could be said about the 80s. It was just a period of music that hit real, it was fun. I mean, nobody was bitching, whining, complaining, and dark, depressed. It was about celebration. Dress up, celebrate, dance to the music.
yeah, and it still is. I mean, you can see if you go to the festivals today around the world where it is this 80s rock, it's always the same. It's always the calm, just people hanging out, having beers, and listening to rock music. There's never a fight or anything. It's just happy people pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with what's that song, Happy Something People? But the REM thing. I mean, look, hey, and another thing I've got to say, with the 80s, you had such a variety of music. It just wasn't what they call hair metal now. It was, rock. It was Prince. It was Jackson. It was Bonnie Raitt. It was Cheap Trick, Judas Priest, Van Halen. It was everything in the
Yeah,
80s. And that was another thing that I think that was very cool and reminiscent, and that feeling of, oh, the 80s, well, it was just anything went. Everybody was friends. I could talk to Huey Lewis. I could do gigs with REM. I could share a dressing room with REM, and
yeah.
we did. You do festivals with Berlin and Rats, and it was all over the place. It was fucking nuts, dude.
It must
That's
have
what
been
I think
amazing.
that's what I think is missing, and people are really generating. And I mean, trying to say, wow, those 80s were something.
Yeah, well, it really was, definitely. But if listening to music nowadays for you, what kind of music do you listen to today? Is it do you follow like new rock, or is it the old ones?
I follow everything, my friend. There's a bunch of stuff. I wish I could remember some names of these characters, but there's some great bands out there. I mean, I even listen to bands like Waterworks and uh, just everything. And the fact
Yeah,
that I have an independent label since '95, it's my job. I release my music, on my own, on my own terms, and I like to see what's happening. People will be surprised what we listen to around here, at the Top Hill compound. It could be
but
anything goes. I mean, Dion, I mean, look, I just did a cover of The Wanderer from Dion, just because I liked the song. I went in and recorded it. I liked it, and my wife here, she does promotion and video and publicity, and she makes a video in like a second. It's just fun. We're still getting off on all kinds of music.
I can really see that you really really enjoy this still. I mean, I think I can see it in your eyes, and of course can hear it in your music as well. But
Thank
I
you.
mean, you've been
Yeah,
standing on a stage for such a long time. Is it as fun as it used to be?
Sometimes it is, and that's actually most of the time now. It's not like I'm gearing up towards the end of anything. I have a residency to start probably next year in Vegas where I live. Um, but I still enjoy going out there. I mean, you know, you see these people at my meet and greets now, which are really taking on a character of their own. It's like Ratt in the 80s heyday. You know, they're dressing up, you know. I could
Yeah.
see a duplicate of me, you know, and just, oh my God. And we'll just sit there and chit chat. And I love hearing the stories, right? Oh, you know, it'd be, besides a lot of, I got laid to lay it down, you know, or I did this, or I did that. These stories are incredible, man. And I love spending time because I don't remember a lot of that 80s, you know. You know, we were pretty sheltered, you know. We were entertaining ourselves indoors more than outdoors, you know. So it's great to hear all these stories from my audience 40 years later. You know, they're not going away. The 80s is not going away, you know.
No, it will never go away. Definitely not. But I mean, as I said, you have your own label, and you've been producing and writing music for such a long time.
Yeah.
What kind of advice could you give to a band or to an artist today trying to get into the industry? What advice would you give to them?
Don't buy into that all for one for all bullshit. If you create something, it's yours. Make sure it's yours and hold on tight. Whether you make it or break it, or it's always should be yours. Learn some of the business. It is the music business. And you know, I would say now that there's so many opportunities because of the internet, online, things we didn't have before. I mean, you know, if you want to use a phone, you want to use a phone in the 80s, you'd have to pull the bus over, you know, and use the phone, you know. Hello. Yeah. Now it's, I want to sell a record. Okay. Sold, you know. So there's a lot of opportunities out there for these new bands, as they know, and they're utilizing it. Believe me, they are utilizing it, and that's a brilliant thing. And that's about all the advice I can give. Is if you want it bad enough, you'll get it, but you got to work for it. You know, you can't steal it, you can't take it, you can't borrow it. You got to create it and make it and work it. You know, and that's it. Work it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's of course a big difference today as well. I mean, it feels like it's easier to get your music out through Spotify, for example. But on the other hand, I read somewhere that it's approximately 100,000 new songs being released every day on Spotify. So it must be hard as well. I mean, but for you, when you release stuff, do you feel like it's a big difference when it comes to releasing vinyls in the 80s and in the 90s and releasing music today on digital platforms?
Well, there's an analogy that I have, and I like to bring it up because there are bands in the 80s. I call them the third and fourth tier bands, you know, the cookie cutters, the little Motleys, little Rats, little Leopards, little whatever. These characters, they're getting played more now because of what's available than they ever did then, and getting paid for it. So that's got to be embraced and appreciated, number one, by them. And just the opportunities that are available, you know, and it is different. You know, now it's immediate. For guys like me who've been around and had these records and whatever, or bands like us, they'll get noticed first, you know, because we have such a big audience that's not going away. So that's cool. There still could be rough times for some of these new bands, but like I say, if you want it, it's available. The platform's available in many ways out there to get your music out there. And so that's the difference, you know.
So we talked a little bit at the beginning about touring. You're releasing the box set and everything now. Will there be new music from Ratt as well?
If there's new music from Ratt, it's going to be coming from me. I don't see the band unless I re-release something that's in the archives that nobody has gotten a hold of, which there is. I am
Yeah.
a holder of everything. And day one, that's a possibility. As far as the band, Ratt, and the members, I've kindly put the word out to everybody, and there's no interest in anything, let alone, you know, promoting the fucking boxing you should be proud of, guys.
Yeah.
So there won't be a new record from Ratt. Probably another best of or something like that, maybe. But you know, I have plenty of music still I have to get to after this
Yeah.
chapter right
Well, I
here.
can imagine that. It would be very cool though to release, as you said, some old material that hasn't been released before. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as I said, I mean, you're a rock and roll icon. When I wrote on the internet today that I was going to interview, a lot of questions came. So I have to ask a couple of those from the listeners and from the viewers. One was, it feels like Ratt didn't tour in Europe as much as many of the other bands in the 80s.
Yeah,
Why?
I get that all the time. We just talked about that a second ago. Yeah, and it's interesting. I don't know if it had to do with our manager because as he was managing Van Halen in the early days, he didn't bring them out there either that much.
Yeah.
Well, it was only Japan, which is great. You know, grateful for that. We've had multiple gold records there and Europe, but I don't. It's a crime, actually. We should have been out there. But you know what? When you're that green light is go, you're go, and you know we just got caught up in that wheel after Cellar. Like you're not stopping. The label didn't want us to stop. Everybody wanted us to keep going. So there was no chance of. It was pretty much hit the states. You know, hit the states, hit Canada, hit Japan. We did go there a little bit, but not enough. We thought that maybe doing the festivals would cover more ground than doing a club or whatever. So that's what we tried to do too.
Okay. So a classic rider for Ratt backstage in the 80s. What did that look like? A question from a viewer.
Oh, okay. Well, plenty of alcohol, maybe some box of condoms, we throw shit in there just to have in there, like surgical gloves and KY and, you know, posters of every playmate you could think of in the 80s, magazines, cigarettes, batteries, you know, I don't know.
It was as crazy as you could think.
Yeah, we were bored, but you know, then again, mostly booze. Yeah.
Okay. Also, a question that myself, I remember in the 80s because I was a huge Ratt fan, and I also, of course, listened to Mötley and to Def Leppard and those other bands as well. But in Sweden or in Europe generally, it was this thing in the media everywhere that Ratt and Mötley and maybe Def Leppard as well, but mostly Ratt and Mötley had like a beef. It was this rivalry thing. Was it like that, or was that just a PR?
And that wasn't our PR because we didn't give a shit about anybody from day one. You know, when Robin and I really put the schematics of Ratt together and our approach, delivery, presentation, it had nothing to do with anybody. If you had to worry about what everybody else was doing, you can get nothing done. We didn't want to look like anybody else. We didn't want to follow the fashion. We didn't want to follow the fads. We didn't want to do the ballads because they were hip. You know, we barely did Unplugged. Yeah, we kind of tried to take a bit of a Zepp approach, like, you know, we don't need to do all these crazy things. We didn't do TV a lot when it was open for us to do. Now that I would have liked to have done, but it didn't really, you know, we wanted to be
it felt like you were a little bit mysterious than the other bands.
Yeah, we didn't really want to like just throw ourselves out there and do everything and anything just because it was cool to do. You know, do a ballad. Everybody's doing one. We were like, fuck no, we don't want to do a ballad. We're a rock band, you know? But we did. You know, we eventually got there. you know.
Yeah, of course. So, of course, when you think of Ratt, you get nostalgic. But I have to ask you, you're sitting holding a guitar, it looks like.
One of many
Yeah. Oh
around
my
here.
God. Yeah. Well, I mean, could you play something? It would be amazing. Play
Yeah, here.
anything. It's amazing. It's so cool. This is unreal. I'm having Stephen Pearson, my ladies and gentlemen, in front of me playing the guitar. This is unreal.
Or you can do. You think you're tough. You think it's tough. I just know you think
Oh, fucking amazing. Thank you very much. And of course, I get super nostalgic with this. I mean, are you a nostalgic person?
Excuse me?
Are you a nostalgic person? I mean, for me,
Oh,
hearing
yes.
this, you are. Okay, so let's get into some nostalgic trip then. Do you
Sure.
remember the first record that you bought for your own money? Your first record, or if it was a cassette?
Yeah, it was the Black Sabbath record,
Oof.
and with the witch and shit, and yeah, and a little bit of LSD do you wonders, I'll tell you. Headphones, whoa, what an awakening. Holy shit.
Do you remember your first broken heart?
I can remember breaking a bunch.
Well, yeah, I can imagine.
I don't remember. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I don't dwell on that shit. You can't fall in love again if you do. I'm so in love right now with this woman here. This my girl. It's ridiculous.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Do you remember the first song you learned to play on an instrument? And which instrument was it?
I'll tell you what, on guitar, because how I got into music was through an accident. I was laid up for about 6 months in a hospital, and somebody went just like this. Here's acoustic guitar, and I went, okay, and I proceeded to teach myself how to play. And probably one of the first songs I wrote, if correct, was Rat Madness, which was oh shit, Rat Madness. Fuck, I forget how that goes. Oh man, I couldn't tell you right now, but I think it was one of the early Mickey Rat songs. I started writing songs right away, as weird as that is. I had a friend of mine teach me some chords, and I was off and running. Once I learned the bar chord, forget it. It was over.
Yeah, but
you know.
But when you've written songs during the years, or when you write now, how do you start? Do you start with like playing the guitar, some riff, or do you start with the lyrics, or how is the process?
Well, now, or as of years back, I've learned from writing with like Diane Warren and Desmond Child, Jim Valance, to write every day. I write every day and record pieces that could be in my head, or I'll just put on the drum machine, click, and I'll, play to that, I'll just come up with something, or there's a verse in my, or some words in my head, and eventually I'll connect the dots,
Yeah. So, but to write a song today, I mean, when you wrote songs in the 80s, do you think of it in a different way? I don't know exactly how to ask this question, but I mean, do you write the same way now as you did in the 80s, or is it more,
100%?
100%.
My writing schematic, if you want to put it that way, has not changed. I just write. I make it an effort. It's not a chore. I don't walk in. I have a music room there. I go in and just see what happens, you know.
Yeah.
And it's I try to have a clear head unless there is something in my head that just is like going, oh, what's that fucking riff, you know? Then I'll go, okay, get a beat for that and start that. But I pretty much just go in and see what happens, you know. I don't you know, really think about what I'm going to do next.
Yeah, well, that's really cool. I'm gonna wrap this up, and I have a question that I always try to ask, and it's about let's say you were stranded on an island, and you only got to bring one record only. So this will be the only record that you get to listen to for the rest of your life, and we can't take a greatest hits or a compilation one.
Oh, except the greatest hits.
Well, you can't have a greatest hits or nothing like it. Has to be like a normal record. So no,
then
like best
I would pick Led Zeppelin. What's the one with all the apartment buildings? The apartment building record.
Is it 3? I think maybe.
No.
Two.
That's not. It's a double album.
Physical Graffiti.
Physical Graffiti. That's it.
Perfect.
Because it's got everything on there, you know, their whole early stuff, later stuff, live stuff. It's kind of bitching.
Yeah. Well, I would choose Invasion of Privacy. So.
That's a good record.
Yeah, it's a great record.
Good
so
record.
Thanks a lot for taking time, and trust me, I will be the first one in line when the box is released.
Well, hey, and it's a good one, man. It's chock full of goodies, you know, and that's not it. There's a special surprise coming on vinyl right after the box set, so stay tuned. You'll hear that from BMG Atlantic, but I got wind of it and I love it. And thank you so much. I appreciate it. You want to see what I'm doing? Go to officialstephenpearcy.com. I'm out there promoting the record and my Sunset Strip experience. And
wow,
we'll see.
Amazing. Do you think we could end with like this? Would you say, hi, this is Stephen Pearson. Stephen Pearson, you're listening to Pirate Rock?
Of course.
We can use that. Perfect.
Ready?
So Pirate Rock is the radio station.
Got it. Hi, everybody. Stephen Pearcy from Ratt. You're listening to Pirate Rock Radio.
Oh my God, this is amazing. I need to take a selfie with you as well. So
yeah.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, and take care, and hope to see you live in Sweden again. That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. We did Sweden Rock Fest, right? That was it.
Yeah, I remember. I was in front of the stage, so it was perfect.
Oh man! All right, brother. Well, hit me up anytime. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Have a good time, and good luck with the cruise. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you, brother.
Bye.